Okay, good morning. We are here for Mental Toughness Monday. We're so excited to have you all here, and we're going to go ahead and hop in. I started the recording already, and um, somebody else is going to read today, but I'm not sure who. Dad, is it you?
Well, I can read. Yeah.
Okay, that'll be great.
What do you want me to read?
49.
49?
Oh, before we read, let's chat about what happened in last week. Last week we talked about the world class being professional failures. Great ones. Great ones are professional failures. Any thoughts on professionally failing this week, either for yourself or any examples of professional fails that
Well,
ultimately resulted in comebacks?
remember Thomas Edison found about 2,000 ways the light bulb wouldn't work before he finally made light bulbs that did work. And he didn't consider that a failure. He figured out he knew what didn't work.
Yeah.
I read this week. I wish I would have written it down because it would be fitting here with the details. But you'll remember this if you're a sports fan. Michael Jordan said, how many shots he'd missed. 26 times, I think he missed the final, what would have been the game-winning point. Right? It was statistics such as those that I read and was reminded of. And I think it's a great example of what we're discussing here. Though, right? He took the shot and failed many times, but how many times did he win because he tried?
I love that. I think that's the point. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right?
First attempt in learning. That's what
Right.
FAIL stands for.
I really liked that. I saw that you posted that in the group. Yeah, first attempt in learning. You're gonna fail. Did anybody have any personal experiences this week of failing professionally? I'm failing right now with my, yeah. You need 10 minutes at the end of sky breathing. I'm just saying. The full 10.
I found some people that knew about. I'm not counting the fails, but I talked to a lot of people about doTERRA when I was in the hospital. There's a lot of people in there that know very little or haven't or have used some but don't have a membership and are interested in more information of how to use them and the nutritionals.
Yeah. No,
But
I
there were
think,
others that we just thought, so there's plenty of fails.
yeah. No, and good point that when you're sharing, you don't know how it's going to go, right?
Is that unattached to the outcome? It
Yes,
doesn't it doesn't beat you down if you don't get 100%.
right. I think that's really, really powerful is that if we can let go of that need, right? We have to have this work. That's
Can
good.
I can I share a quick story?
Please.
I'll try to make it quick. I went pheasant hunting a couple weeks ago, and I don't hunt, right? But my friend invited me to go. I said, sure, I'll go. So I didn't really care about the outcome. But so this is a you just asked for a personal fail, but it could have been a personal fail. Can I go with that story?
You bet.
So
It relates.
okay, so we're out pheasant hunting, and I've been studying about. I'm in a class called Choose to Win. Well, the book's called Choose to Win. It's by Tom Ziglar, Zig Ziglar's son. He's now the CEO, right, of the Ziglar Corporation since Zig Ziglar passed away, or maybe before that. But anyway, the point is, we're studying between being on the competitive plane or living on the creative plane, and which one, where do we want to live, right? Is there an abundance or is there a lack, right? What are we focused on? So we get out there hunting, and my friend he's an avid hunter. He likes to go. He's always out there. And he was pretty negative about the situation because we were on a public hunting ground because we didn't have permission to hunt anything private. The pheasants are out there. We know this. and there's a lot of hunters. And he's discouraged because there's so many hunters. He's discouraged as after 2 hours of walking around, we haven't seen a single bird. And he's down in the mouth a lot about it. It's like, dang it, I've seen a lot more birds by now. And I think that everything's been shot up. And he's just negative, negative, negative. And so I had a choice, right? As my choice is, I could have been like, oh man, this bites. That's too bad we're out here. What a waste of time. Or this came to mind and I thought, you know what? I'm practicing creative versus competitive. What am I going to focus on? So I said, okay, he can do that. He could live in that world if he wants to, but I'm going to live in the creative plane. I'm going to, and it doesn't matter. The outcomes either way is just fine, right? I think that's an important part of the whole picture, that I'm not so set on what the outcome is going to be. It was a beautiful day. The Wellsville Mountains here in Cache Valley were gorgeous, sunny, warmer than we expected. It was fantastic to be out there, whether we saw something or not. Well, long story shorter, we come around a corner after, like I say, walking for about 2 hours. We come around a corner and I hear something over in the reeds and I'm looking and I'm like, hey, that's a pheasant. So come up on it. It's on my side. He's clear over on the other side of this opening, this gap that we're walking through. And it's on my side. Like, okay, boom, take it. Great, we got one. So then we go right over to a fence, hop over this fence, and we're just walking forward. We're in a cow field now because it's all mowed down. We didn't see the bird right in front of us, but it took flight. Now the bird could have flown any direction, but it flew into my shooting zone. So boom, I got a second one. That is the limit. I bagged out. The rookie bagged out while the poor avid hunter had to watch it all happen. And I absolutely contributed to what I've been learning, and thankfully was smart enough to try to apply that we can live in the creative plane, that there's abundance, there's enough. And the failure would have been if I bought into his what he was experiencing.
I love it.
It was a cool experience. I sat there and went, what just happened? That's crazy. That's wild. I got to learn this.
That's a great story, Ron.
That's amazing.
It was cool. It was amazing. And I'm still a little bit in shock about it.
Isn't that so funny? I have a mentor that I do a book club with, and she's always saying things like, well, of course that happened, and we need to stop being surprised.
Yeah. Well, I'm still surprised. So you're right.
I know.
Do it more often.
But if you do it more often, that becomes the norm. And it's more surprising when you're like, what just happened? Like it didn't go or whatever. But if you're not attached to the outcome, then you're not having that feeling either. So
well,
amazing.
That's a great segue into today's reading. We do not need more intellectual power. We need more spiritual power. Ron used at least the intellectual power and brought about a favorable outcome. But is there more? Are things created spiritually before they are created naturally? Is the question. We do not need more of the things that are seen. We need more of the things that are unseen. Calvin Coolidge, the U.S. president, made that comment. Faith has always been a hallmark of world-class performers. Most notably, the faith performers have in themselves. The great ones have an extremely high level of self-trust, even when they are failing. This faith in self may stem from being raised in a positive environment or from performers talking to themselves in it. Muhammad Ali admits he told the world he was the greatest before he truly was, as a way to bolster his faith in his own skills. I think it worked. Champions have also faith in their goals and dreams becoming reality, while amateurs are often deathly afraid of believing in something that may or may not happen. Faith in God, a higher power, or an infinite intelligence is also a trait of many champions. There are atheists who are tremendous performers, yet as a rule, there seems to be a connection between professional performers and the spiritual side of life. Many pros draw tremendous energy and power from a deep faith in a greater force. In recent years, many who were turned off by fear-based organized religions in their childhood have turned to New Thought churches and centers such as Unity and Science of Mind. Whatever the source of their spiritual faith, world-class performers do tend to hold strong spiritual convictions. So the action step for today is to take an inventory of the 10 people closest to you. And on a scale of 1 to 7, 7 being the highest, how much faith do these people have in themselves? How much faith do they have in a higher power? Odds are that your level of faith is the average of these 10 people. So ask the critical thinking question. Is this helping me or is it hurting me?
Interesting. And the quote is Calvin Coolidge, who was the U.S. president from 1972 to 1933. Or was he that long of a president? No, he
That's his
lived.
birth and death. That's his birth and death.
He
But this,
lived
but he did.
1872 to 1933. There we go. We do not need more intellectual power. We need more spiritual power. And Dad, you read this at the beginning. We do not need more of the things that are seen. We need more of the things that are unseen. That's powerful. All right, thoughts on faith.
Well, one of the best illustrations of this in my life was we'd lost a business. We're living in Denver, Colorado. We had an opportunity in Idaho. We didn't have any money to come. And I said, Kathy, believe in me one more time. We're going to put everything in suitcases and boxes and pretend like we're moving, even though we don't know how we're going to get there. And then I went out to a truck stop on the north side of Denver, one on the east side, and I was headed to the west side when I thought I better make a phone call, because what I had done in those truck stops, I'd put up a note that said, if any of you truck drivers are headed to Idaho empty, here's a family that needs to move. We don't have any resources. Would sure appreciate your help. And after I'd posted the first two, I was going to go all the way around Denver. I thought I better make a phone call. We didn't have cell phones in those days.
Right?
Phoned my wife, and my wife said, Dean, you better get home. There's a trucker on his way over here right now to load up our family.
Wow.
That's powerful. That's good.
I remember that.
That's
I was
faith at
12.
its finest.
Yeah. I love that too, because the just the that story in the Bible about digging the ditches,
And they were filled with water.
and they were filled with water. Yep, but they went out there and they dug the ditches. And there was no sign of rain, and there was no sign of, any way to fill them with water, and yet they did. And I feel like that's the thing, boxing up your stuff and getting ready to go, or taking some unrealistic action, unrealistic in the sense of, like, it doesn't make any sense to do this. That's you having faith, digging your ditches. And yeah,
Well,
that was pretty fun.
and don't you think that um, having the creative idea of doing that
Yep,
with inspiration from God?
absolutely. Absolutely.
One of my favorite shows is the Facing the Giants with that football team. And I love how the preacher guy that the coach asks, he's talking to him, and the preacher guy says, well, who do you think is gonna, I can't remember how he asked the question, but who's gonna get the blessings? The guy that is, there's two guys praying for rain. Is it the one that is just praying for it, or what, the one that's praying for it and preparing for it?
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Yes, and that was another thing from The Game of Life and How to Play It. If you haven't read that, that's a great one by Florence Scovel Shin. She talks about that also of like when you if you pray for one outcome, but then you prepare for another, then you're not praying in faith. So I love that.
I love that.
Yeah. All right. Any last thoughts before we wrap it up for today?
Pretty powerful stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. I love it. Next week, sneak peek. Number 50, champions handle fear like a snake charmer. So that'll be something to look forward to next week. And can you believe we've been doing this for 49 weeks? I mean, that's almost a year. We're approaching a year, and it probably actually is because we have missed just a couple of times, and so it's probably right close to when we started doing this a year ago. So, way to go! And super grateful for those of you who've joined us along the way, and those of you who have been with us the whole time. Like it's fantastic to have you, and we're just grateful for the changes that you're making in your own mind and how that changes your life and your business and all the things that you're trying to accomplish. So good job.
Thank you.
And thank all of you. All right, we'll see you next week.